Now we get into the crux of this video. I hate Gian, and so I debate him and prove him wrong. Last week, okay, I don't hate you.
Yeah.
AFC East we did last week. This week we're going to do the AFC North and AFC South. So Gian, because you are wrong, I will let you go first. Give me your analysis of the AFC North.
AFC North, very, very contested this season. I feel like the entire AFC is contested. Every division, with the exception of the South. Actually, maybe the South a little bit. Has any of the teams in that division in the AFC North can win that division, and at the same time, the remaining teams could also win a playoff spot. That's how I feel about the AFC North, East, and West. And my picks for the AFC North, and I'm gonna give you guys the order of my picks. It might make a bunch of people angry.
Don't justify it, just say it.
The Browns are winning the division, followed by the Ravens, followed by the Steelers, followed by the Bengals.
Interesting
enough. Very close.
And I'll say this before I get into the proving you wrong part of this video.
Okay. I'll defend myself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's interesting that you picked the Bills last week to bust, and you're also picking the Bengals this year to bust, because those are two of the best teams in the NFL last year. Right. And I'm not saying I disagree with that necessarily, but picking them to be fourth in the division, I don't know.
It's a very close fourth. It's not a fourth where
I understand.
They're absolute bums.
Yeah,
I still think they'll be positive. I think everyone in the division is going to be positive.
The difference between first and last is going to be 3 or 4 wins, I think, and it's going to be very tight. And I agree with you. It's going to be a very tough division. I put some money on I threw like $2 on picking every division winner to see what that turns into. As always, you gotta do your flyer bets before the season just to see. I picked the Steelers to win on some of them. I picked the Ravens, and I picked the Bengals. I didn't pick the Browns at all to win the division. Not saying I don't think they can do it. I don't necessarily think they have the worst shot, because that offense is crazy good now. I mean, you got Njoku, a tight end who's very reliable. Amari Cooper, who's a proven staple wide receiver one. You got Nick Chubb, who's arguably the best pure runner, and probably not even arguably the best pure rusher in the NFL. You got Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who are both really good wide receiver twos.
Very good supporting cast.
Yeah, and you got one of the best.
Deshaun Watson. You got one of the best O-lines in the NFL.
Yeah, one of the best O-lines. And Deshaun Watson's now had a full year to build chemistry with this team. Mobile quarterback as well, and that defense obviously is good. You got guys like Myles Garrett back there who's going to put pressure every single play, so it's really tough to rank them. But it's also tough to rank the Steelers, because once they had their defense back, they won like 7 games in a row last season. Not 7 games in a row, but they won 7 out of 9, and barely missed the playoffs. And now you got Kenny Pickett, who's going to be there, the full year starters, and Mitch Trubisky's building chemistry with the team. Got guys like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson building chemistry, 2 very solid receivers. Najee Harris, who's just going to get fed the rock because he's Najee Harris, and didn't play the greatest for some of last season, but towards the end, once they had their full team out together, played very well. So the Steelers are going to be good. Bengals obviously are going to be good. One of the best, arguably the best wide receiver core in the NFL. Joe Burrow, who's one of the, my opinion, second best quarterback in the league. Undeniably top 3 quarterback in the league. Fair O-line. They've done some work there. The defense is what kills me with the Bengals, though, because they lost so many players. But the problem with taking that for too much is that the Bengals offense excels in the passing game, and that's what compensates for a bad defense. Because when you're down, your defense is letting a lot of scores, you're not going to make that up by having a good run game. You're going to make that up by having an incredible pass game. When you got guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd that are just going to run opposite sides of the field, they're going to get open and they're going to make big plays and keep themselves competitive in every game. And then the Ravens, obviously, Lamar Jackson's back. He got his contract, so he's healthy. Mark Andrews always going to be a dog. Top 3 tight end in the league. You got guys like OBJ, who they signed, who's going to be a decent, I think, red zone, 3rd and long type guy. Rashad Bateman's going to be back, who played incredibly last season when he was healthy. You got Zay Flowers, who's been very good in training camp.
Very good in training camp. And I've also heard OBJ's been meshing well with Lamar as well.
He has.
And he's showing up, even at his age, and coming back from his 7th ACL injury.
Yeah. So it's really tough to pick a winner for this division for me. I think it's either going to be the Steelers or the Ravens. If I have to pick one, I'm going to pick Steelers just because I think that
that defense really helps.
Because of the defense, yeah. The Ravens have lost a little bit of their key defensive players like Calais Campbell. So I'm picking the Steelers. I think number 2 spot is going to be competitive between all 3. I think those 3 will be within 2 wins of each other. If I have to pick, I think the Ravens get a wild card spot. and then the Bengals and Browns fight for a wild card spot. I don't think both are going to make it. I think one of those two makes it, and they take up 3 of the playoff spots this year because the AFC North is just so stacked.
It is.
It's so tough then because the AFC West and AFC East are also so stacked. So it's tough.
I feel like this season, Ethan, we're going to see a lot of teams making it to the playoffs between 9 to 12
Oh,
wins.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of 9-win teams there.
9-win teams because it's just so stacked in the AFC.
If I have to pick one team from the AFC North to pick a wild card spot, because I have the Chargers making it for the AFC West, obviously, and I have at least 2 teams from the AFC East winning too. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go Steelers and Ravens are making it from that division, and I think the Bengals and Browns barely miss it just because I think that the Browns are going to lose some non-divisional games, and I think the Bengals are going to lose most of their divisional games, and I think that's what's going to hold back their overall records just because they have some weak spots. And although the Browns, I think, don't really have a specific weak spot, I think they're just is the question of the unknown. Like, yeah, Deshaun Watson's been stepping it up, but is that going to translate to the NFL
we'll have to
regular
wait,
season? Because
we'll
last season, last season when he played, it wasn't that great. And like I said, a full year to build with the team, yada, 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 but still, that's raising the potential for Deshaun Watson. That doesn't mean he's going to meet those expectations. Right. And then there's still the coaching issue, which is coaching has never been that great in Cleveland. And so I think that's a big piece of it. Whereas Ravens have a great coach, Bengals have a great coach, and Steelers have a great coach. So that's my reason for excluding the Browns. And then I think the Bengals, Joe Burrow's going to come into the season coming off an injury already. So they might lose the first couple of games from that just to make sure he's well rested. And if they don't rest him, he gets a few sacks in the first couple of games, he's going to be hurt for the rest of the season. He can get an ankle injury very easily. He's not going to be as mobile in the pocket, I think, unless this injury really just doesn't affect him, which I think is unlikely.
Unfortunately, I think most of Burrow's injuries have just come with his lower body. Like he's just got weak legs.
I mean, that's what happens with quarterbacks usually, though, because that's where you're getting tackled. But then that defense is really my biggest concern with the Bengals. So that's my...
That defense, I feel like, can get torn up by Lamar Jackson or like just by running or airing it out. Same thing with Kenny Pickett. But for me, I feel like if you compare the receiving cores, okay, Bengals have the best one, but then after the Bengals, it's got to be the Browns. And
or
then
the Ravens.
Browns and Ravens, I leave them tied up.
Yeah.
Just because Bateman's coming back from an injury, but the Browns, everyone on their roster is healthy. Amari Cooper is still at his prime.
My big thing is Mark Andrews is such a huge piece of that, though.
That's true.
Like, the tight end gap, I think that the wide receivers, exclusively the Browns, edge it out, and then the Ravens tight end obviously edges it out by a larger margin, but the tight end position matters less in their receiving group. So that's why I think they're about even, especially they have a slew. They do to the running back by committee.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, which obviously Browns' rush game is great, but because Lamar Jackson's a better rusher, they have a couple of running backs like J.K. Dobbins who...
We're still waiting to see if he plays.
Right. If he does...
Gus Edwards, I think Gus Edwards resigned. And then I feel like the Ravens signed somebody as well. Let me do a quick check on that. But again, the defense matters a lot more for me in this division. This division's always been a heavily defensive division, and
they got Melvin Gordon. That's who they signed.
Melvin Gordon, that's right. Yeah, they signed Melvin Gordon just in case J.K. really
and
does sit out.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I mean, I think the Browns are the most balanced, both defensively and offensively. You got a rushing quarterback in there as well. Like Deshaun's known to run.
It's just the Browns. Like that's my like.
That's the. I know.
I
like the new logo, by the way. I like the bulldog logo.
And I am a very. And I think you could agree with this. I put a lot of analysis into things that I confidently say when it comes to the NFL.
Right.
So I don't like saying, "Oh, it's this team." Like just because their name, they're going to be bad. Like I'm not going to do that. Like the Lions, for example. People say that about the Lions, the Jets, etc. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at all the aspects of the team.
Right.
For whatever reason, I just can't get over it with the Browns.
It's like for me, it's like 75% analysis, 25% gut. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know, man. Like I'm still pissed off that they did Baker Mayfield so dirty, and like I can't. Yeah. I love Baker, man.
Shout out to Baker Mayfield. We love you.
I don't think Baker Mayfield's in the top half of quarterbacks, but I love Baker Mayfield. I think he's a great guy. He did a lot for that Browns team.
Come on the show, Baker.
I just don't know, man. The Browns are just tough for me. Like they're either gonna be first or last. Like I don't.
Yeah, but that's like, again that division. Like I said, everyone's gonna have. 10-7, 9-8.
It's going to be so fun to watch the AFC this year. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Steelers 1 because I think they're going to be. Maybe I don't because I think I want to compare them to the Giants last year, where they're very good at controlling the game.
Yes.
But the Giants didn't win the division. They made the playoffs and they lost some games on purpose to rest their starters. So the Giants' record didn't reflect how good they actually were.
Right.
So maybe I'll go Steelers wild card spot and maybe. every time I want to say Ravens and their defense, and then it's Bengals, but defense, and then it's Browns, but it's the Browns. Steelers are winning. They're the only ones that I can confidently say don't have any specific weak spots that like are just going to come up out of nowhere. Their defense is strong. Their offense is good, especially with Mike Tomlin's team.
Their offense is all right. It's not too bad.
The reason I think their offense is great is because of the way Mike Tomlin coaches.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give you that. Tomlin's just got a proven track record. I think he's going to extend that streak of being over 500.
The Steelers aren't going negative this year.
That being said, I mean, George Pickens, phenomenal. Deontay Johnson,
Man.
I'm hoping for an improvement this year. He's due for an improvement.
Deontay Johnson is one of those guys that's good, but just because he had 0 red zone targets last year, but he still had 1,000 yards, like a little over 1,000 yards, and that was with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett switching off, and then less rapport between the two because they were splitting reps at training camp, etc. That's why I think Kenny Pickett's going to take a pretty decent leap. And like I said last year as well with Kenny Pickett, the expectation of quarterbacks to be the best their rookie year is just stupid. Most of the all-time great quarterbacks were not good their first season. So I don't think you can really expect that out of guys, except for recently. But that's just because rookies don't really get that much of a chance now.
They really don't.
I mean, like, I think Brock Purdy's better than Trey Lance, but Trey Lance really hasn't been given a fair shot with that Niners offense.
No, he hasn't. I'll admit, Herbert got an opportunity of a lifetime.
He wasn't going to play much his rookie year if he didn't. And so he was going to have like a very mid-rookie season. It had it not been for Tyrod Taylor getting stabbed in the lung by the team doctors.
Doctors are stupid. How do you
Patrick Mahomes also played like half the game his rookie year. And he was horrible that one game. He had like 2 picks, 0 touchdowns, a few yards, and a horrible completion rating. But that's just because that's what happens. Yeah. When you're a rookie, you don't have rapport with the team, etc. So I think Kenny Pickett's going to take a pretty decent leap, be right around the middle pack of quarterbacks this season. So Steelers are going to win. I think the Ravens offense is just going to be too nasty. I think the Ravens offense is going to do a lot of work this season, better than the Bengals offense, and I'll have them at my 2. And then Browns and Bengals are going to fight for that 3rd spot and miss the playoffs by a little bit. But Joe Burrow, man, it's hard not to bet on Joe Burrow. But I'm just going to say that, and I'm going to regret it when the Bengals go 13-4 this season, and the Browns go 0-17, and the Steelers go 2-15. But that's my pick for now. I think this is probably the toughest division to rank, like number 1 toughest division to rank this season. So I'm not going to put too much stock into it. Don't bet based on what I'm saying because I don't even feel confidently enough to bet like legit money on it.
I am. I put money on it.
Okay, well, if you want to take Gion's bets and lose a lot of money, then do that. But let me tell you something. Gian does not know how to bet right. But we'll move on before Gian... yeah.